You know, I remember the old days when the Democrats were all about separation of church and state. Now, not so much. Yeah, that's how things have changed. Hang on, let me just readjust one thing with my camera. So we're gonna get into this because this is important. We're gonna get into this here in just a minute. I'm gonna talk all about this bishop at the National Cathedral who called out Donald Trump during a church service. During a church service, she basically she turned her sermon into a lecture of the new president and the new vice president. We're going to get into all that here in just a minute. But man, let me just tell you something. Let me just tell you what's been going on here in Washington, D.C. This is weird. This is the weirdest thing ever. I got to make sure that, there we go. I got to make sure that I'm being tracked. I want to make sure that I'm getting tracked by the software so that I don't go out of focus because I don't want to look blurry. Here's basically what happened. I was supposed to fly home today. I wasn't actually planning on doing Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. I was planning all these posts going, hey guys, it's a travel day. Hey guys, I got to get home before the snow, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, my flight got canceled at 12 noon. Because apparently you can't fly in the cold. It's weird because I'm here in Washington, D.C. where it's frigidly cold. It's really bitterly cold. And I'm flying to Jacksonville where it's also bitterly cold. But for whatever reason, you can fly the plane in the D.C. cold. But apparently once you get to Florida, they don't know how to fly. They don't know how to fly the planes in the Florida cold. So whatever it is, we're stuck here till 9 p.m. apparently. When it gets colder tonight, it's okay to fly. I don't get the whole thing. I'm not a pilot. I'm not an aviator. I know very little about it, so I'm not going to talk about it. But I would just like to say thank you so much for being here. And excuse the lighting. Now, luckily, pro tip, by the way, if you ever become a podcaster and or live streamer, if you ever want to do your own show and travel around to various different events like the inauguration of the 47th president of the United States or anything else at all, if you ever want to do that, pro tip, carry all of your gear in a carry-on bag. I've learned this the hard way. I used to check some of my equipment, and that's bad for a couple reasons, because number one, sometimes stuff breaks. Number two, sometimes your checked bag doesn't end up where you are. And number three, sometimes, just like this, you will check your bag, then all of a sudden your plane gets canceled or your plans change and you have to go back, and then you have none of your broadcast equipment with you. Well, luckily, I've learned my lesson, and I'm a pro now, and I always have my microphone right there with me in my sack. I got it right in my sack so nobody can ever touch it. And I've got my audio interface, my computer, everything I need to broadcast. Sans one thing, and that is my light. Because I use a big industrial light, because I like to. And I packed that in my suitcase. So what I've done is I've kind of, if you're watching online, if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching on Rumble, or if you're watching on X, first of all, thanks so much for watching. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you share and like this as well. If there's a notification bell, make sure you're hitting that. And if you're listening on our podcast platforms of iTunes or Spotify, then a couple things. First of all, it doesn't matter what I look like. I could be sitting in the dark. You have no idea because you're just hearing my voice. But also you want to make sure that you subscribe to the podcast and let everybody know. Got to let everybody know, hey, I want more of this. Whenever Mark Kaye publishes a new episode, I want it delivered to my phone. No questions asked. Just give it to me. Just give it to me. And you can do that by hitting, like I said, subscribe or I don't even know what, I guess subscribe, follow, I think isn't it? It doesn't matter. You'll figure it out. You're smart. You're a smart person, and I know you're smart because you're here listening to me now. So the lights, I maneuvered, came back to the hotel. I maneuvered a bunch of the lamps around, and I've got everything, I think, in a fairly decent position. The camera's a little, wonky because I had to break everything down, pack it all up, go to the airport, come back, and then I had to set it all back up again while also planning for the show. So, like I said, that's none of your concern. I thank you all for being here. And I thank you for watching. So listen, there's a lot. Donald Trump yesterday, he's now been president for 48 straight hours. And I got to tell you, this could be the best 48 straight hours of my life. Could be the best 48 straight hours in American history. And yes, I know my wedding was great too. That was a lot of fun. So, and my kids being born, all that. But I have to tell you, the amount of work that Donald Trump has done, the amount of things that Donald Trump has been able to accomplish here in the last 48 hours. And I'm not even talking about the inaugural balls and the dances and the parties and the speeches. I'm not even talking about, something just fell. I'm not even talking about the whirlwind of executive orders, although that was pretty impressive. Donald Trump yesterday came out and he did his very first press conference. It was his very first press conference as president. He made a major announcement, $500 billion being invested into American infrastructure and AI technology. And we'll get to all that here in just a minute. We broadcast the entire thing live. But the really exciting part was that it was a return to the Donald Trump press conference. And that was always, from day one of his first administration, that was always one of my favorite things. There ain't no press conference like a Donald Trump press conference, because a Donald Trump press conference, there's just nothing like it. He took questions. He took questions about everything. He took everything under the sun. Whatever somebody wanted to know, they would ask, and Donald Trump would either answer that, or he would say, I'm not going to answer it. He didn't hide. He didn't have do you remember in the old days of a month ago, whenever the president of the United States would have a press conference, he'd come out, he'd make an announcement, he'd go, all right, let me take some questions here. I'm supposed to call on Ted from NPR. Ted? Okay, Ted, what's your question? And then he would answer the pre-planned question that he already had an answer created for by his communications department. And Ted would stick to the scripts. Ted knew, look, Ted, this is your shot. And if you muck it up, Ted, if you do anything to embarrass this president, if you change the word of your question by even one syllable, you'll never get to ask another question again. So Ted would ask his question. Joe Biden would give his answer and then say, okay, I'm supposed to go. And he'd say, I'm going to get in trouble if I don't follow this list. There's no more list. Donald Trump has no list. Donald Trump goes, you, what's your question? And he answers the question. He goes, you, what's your question? Yeah, that's good. You, what's your question? You're an idiot. And that happened. And that's the other thing too. That's the great news. And I talked about this morning in the 47 Daily Podcast, which you should subscribe to if you don't already. Donald Trump, not only is the fake news back, but Donald Trump dealing with the fake news is back. And that's something that that's something that I think we all missed. And that's something that I think we're excited about. So we'll get to that here in just a minute. But first, there's not just fake news anymore. In the new Donald Trump administration, we not only have fake news, we have fake religion. We not only have fake news, we have fake church. And Donald Trump yesterday went to a sermon with a fake bishop at a fake church who stopped in the middle of the sermon. This was amazing. I've never seen this ever in my entire life, because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think it's ever happened ever in my entire life. Or if it has, it hasn't happened in a way where I was able to see it immediately on the internet, which thank God. Thank God for the internet. The internet's an amazing thing. But it's really wild, because Donald Trump went to the National Cathedral, which is right down the road from where I am. He went with J.D. Vance, and it's tradition that the president and the vice president and, other members of the new administration, what they do on the very first day is they go in and they will have a little ceremony, a little prayer. It's a way for God to bless the new administration. God bless the president. Let's get these things, let's get this administration off on the right start. Let's make sure that the good Lord is watching over our country. Amen. Hallelujah. And this bishop, this woman, her name's Bud or Buddy or Booty. I don't know what it is. It's Bud or Buddy or Boot. Her name is, I don't know. It's Booty. I think it is. Buddy. I don't know what it is. It's Budde. It doesn't matter what Bishop. We'll just call her Bishop. We'll just call her Bishop Woke Folk. So Bishop Woke Folk stops the sermon basically, or doesn't even stop the sermon, in the middle of the sermon, stops preaching the gospel, stops preaching the word, stops talking about God and glory and hallelujah, and starts to, the only word I can say is lecture President Donald Trump and also J.D. Vance, who's sitting next to him. The lecture says, hey, by the way, I know we're supposed to be here praying for you and your new administration. I know that this is a religious ceremony. I know that this is a tradition. I know you're here with your family and your friends and your coworkers to get a blessing from me. But I'm going to give you a piece of my mind here. And I'm going to tell you that I understand you were elected by an electoral majority and a popular vote majority, but I'm a bishop at the National Cathedral and I'm woke. And I think I know better than you. And here's what she said.
I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. they are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land.
I'd say she's still a stranger in this land. No one's stranger than that woman, than Bishop Booty. I don't know what her name is. But I'll tell you what, I don't know where to start with it. She started with the gay, lesbian, and transgenders, and then she went into the illegal immigrants, which it's a weird pairing. It's a weird pairing, but let's go backwards. We'll start with the illegals, because she was really, I think she was really derogatory by pinpointing, like, I want you to have mercy on the people who are here washing my dishes and cleaning my house, and the people that are working at the hospital late at night taking out the trash. Like, that's the only jobs they can get? Is that what she's trying? How derogatory is that? That's what the liberals think, though. They think, oh, please have mercy on the lowly illegal immigrants who do all the grunt work so that I can live this lavish lifestyle. That when I go to the restaurant, there's clean dishes. Please don't deport the dishwashers. I mean, it's really, I'll be honest with you, I don't know how these people get away with it, but somehow they do. They do get away with it. But she's saying, not all of them are illegal. No, they're not. But some of them are. And the ones that are illegal, the ones that are bringing murder and destruction and drugs and guns, the gangs, there are, of course, yes, there are, of course, illegal immigrants who come here, get jobs, pay taxes. They go to church. She said synagogues. I don't know. Are there a lot of Jewish illegal immigrants coming in on the southern border? I don't know. I mean, I'm asking for a friend. I didn't know that in El Salvador and Venezuela, there's a lot of Jewish immigrants that are coming through the southern border, and they're like, I'm here, please don't deport me. Anyway, so she's talking about these folks, and she goes, look, please, there's a lot of these great folks, but there's also a lot of people who aren't. For example, the El Tren de Aragua, who took over, the gang of Venezuelans who took over an entire apartment complex using rifles. They had guns, they walked into an apartment complex, they took it over, they said, it's ours now. I'm the captain now. They did the same thing in Chicago. There was massive gang violence in Chicago. They did the same thing. Let's not forget Springfield, Ohio, where they're eating the cats and eating the dogs, and they're eating the pets of the people who live there. There have been instances of people who have come here illegally, and they have done terrible, horrible, no good, very bad things. And now Tom Homan and Donald Trump are going to send them home because they broke the law. And incidentally, anybody, even this lady's dishwasher, even Bishop Buddy's dishwasher or her maid or her whatever hairdresser. I don't think she has a hairdresser, so that's not a good. Even those people, if they came here illegally, guess what? They broke the law. There's a certain way to come in here through the border legally. If you need to seek asylum, you do so through a legal port of entry, not by crossing a river late at night. That's not how things are done in the United States of America, or at least that's not how they're going to be done in the United States of America anymore. Also, fun fact, this is not the forum for this. The Democrats forever have wanted separation of church and state. If you walk into a school and you say, we're going to pray, or you hang up a crucifix, or you say something about Jesus, or you say Merry Christmas or whatever, God forbid you do that. The Democrats will come down on you with all the fire and brim and the wrath, and they'll say, do not force your religion on me. Do not force your God on me. What was it Kamala said? How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we? That's the Democrats. They've always wanted to separate church and state. Now, all of a sudden, this woman's in a cathedral. She's in the National Cathedral. She sees the president there. She sees him and she goes, you know what? Every ounce of my political being is telling me to separate church and state, but I just can't. Here I am in my church and I've got the leader of the state and I'm going to give him what for. And you know what? I got to hand it to her. She shot her shot, man. She saw her opportunity and she took it. And that's what America's all about. You see your opportunity. You don't get anywhere if you don't take a risk. I get it. I understand. I see where she was going. She was like, this may be the only chance I get to tell Donald Trump what's truly on my mind, to tell him not to deport my dishwasher at my favorite at my favorite luncheonette. Tell them not to deport the late night workers at the hospital who clean the poopy sheets after Joe Biden checks out. Don't deport. They're good, hardworking, church-going people. And we were all strangers in a strange land once. I myself am still strange, as you can see by the way I'm talking. And then she talked about the lesbian and the transgender youth who are fearing for their lives under Donald Trump. Have mercy on them, she said. Have mercy on who? What? Donald Trump isn't doing anything that isn't going to make everyone's life better. Donald Trump, and this is the really interesting thing, Donald Trump got rid of all the DE&I departments. By 5 o'clock today, DE&I offices in every federal office have to be shut down. They're all already being shut down in the Pentagon. They're all being shut down in a lot of places. But by 5 o'clock today, it's drop dead. 5 o'clock today, DE&I offices shut down. The workers go on leave. I think they get a little bit of pay. They get like some kind of, package, whatever. And then that's it. There's no more DE&I. And that means that everybody will be treated equally. You're not going to be judged based on anything anymore. You're not going to be judged based on your sex. You're not going to be judged based on your religion. You're not going to be judged based on your race. You're going to be judged based on your merit, on your ability to do the job. And that is freeing for everybody, especially LGBTQ plus youth. I mean, to think, you know what, no matter who I am, no matter where I come from, no matter what I think, no matter who I choose to love, no matter what I identify as, if I can do the job, I will get the job. That's incredible. Think about that. That's amazing. That right there is diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because now you're inviting everybody to compete for the same position. And you're not hiring somebody based on one thing that other people can't control. Like if you're hiring somebody because your quota is low, the people that don't match that quota, they just can't compete. That's not diverse, equal, or inclusive. Sorry, I forgot what the I stood for a minute. Pretty soon we're all going to forget. What the D&I stands for. So anyway, so this woman, she shot her shot. She went in there and she goes, "Please, President Trump, please pray for the youth. I ask you
to have mercy upon the people
in
our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives."
Again, I don't think they're fearing for their lives because of anything Donald Trump has done. I think they're probably, you know why? If I were a young gay, lesbian, transgender youth living in a Republican, Democrat, or independent family in the United States of America, and I were fearing for my life, I'd probably be fearing for my life because of all the illegal immigrants and gang members that were coming across the border. So really, they should feel a lot more secure now that Donald Trump is in office. Now, Donald Trump, after this, went to the White House to, go do the work. He went to go there and he was like, thanks for the service. I got to go deport some people now. Thanks for the reminder. I got to get back to the White House so we can start deporting all those illegals. Anyway, so Donald Trump went back to the White House and the press was there and they asked him about this particular service. They asked him what he thought of the sermon. Here was his response.
Mr. President, what did you think of the sermon? What did you think of the sermon?
What did you think of the What did you think of the service?
What did you think? Did you like it? Did you find it exciting? Not too exciting, was it? I didn't think it was a good service, no. Thank you very much.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press.
They could do much better.
Thank you, press. Inside. Thank you.
They could do much. I didn't think it was exciting. I didn't like it at all. They could do much better. They need to do better. That's what Donald Trump was saying. And Donald Trump, this is the best part. Donald Trump's saying they got to do much better. And Donald Trump didn't stop there. That's what he said to the press on his way back into the White House. Then he got into the White House and he thought about it a little bit more. In fact, he was thinking about it a lot. And at 12:39 a.m., shortly after midnight, I guess it was like, this morning, Donald Trump, that's when he does all of his best thinking. Day's done. He's had some dinner. He's maybe had a Diet Coke and a cheeseburger, maybe some McDonald's. He's signed a bunch of pardons. He's done a couple of other things. And then he sits back and he relaxes and he starts thinking. He goes, you know what? I got some stuff I want to say about that Bishop Booty Buddy, whatever her name is. I got some stuff I want to say about that bishop. So he goes where Donald Trump likes to go. He goes on Truth Social and he lets the truth be known. And that's exactly what he did at 12:39 a.m. He wrote, the so-called bishop who spoke at the national prayer service on Tuesday morning was a radical left hardline Trump hater. She brought her church into the world of politics in a very ungracious way. She was nasty in tone and not compelling or smart. She failed to mention the large number of illegal migrants that came into our country and killed people. Many were deposited from jails and mental institutions. It is a giant crime wave that is taking place in the USA. Apart from her inappropriate statements, the service was a very boring and uninspiring one. She is not very good at her job. She and her church owe the public an apology. And then he signed it T, just so we knew this was him. Because, he's got assistants. He's got the blonde girl, I forget her name, who follows him around and she types. He'll be like, type this. But apparently he did this one himself because he signed it T. I think like at 12:30 at night. I don't think she's hanging around with him, although she could be. Who knows? But anyway, so that was Donald Trump. It was my favorite part of this whole, again, and every day is like this. Every day my mind gets blown. The first day I was watching Donald Trump pardon people on stage at the arena while he was doing paperwork, he was signing his name, and people were cheering him on like he was a rock star, like it was the Super Bowl. He threw pens into the crowd and these people screamed and yelled and fought and fainted. Donald Trump did that. Then I saw him go to his office and sign more. I saw him sign more executive orders in front of a live camera crew being broadcast all over the world, taking questions while he was doing it, just letting everybody see. It was like the ultimate reality show, from The Apprentice to the Oval Office. And then he went to a ball where he sliced a cake with a sword, but not after he pretended to be Zorro for like 5 minutes. That was the most, and I thought to myself, this is the best thing I've ever seen. But no. Then yesterday, I saw Donald Trump take down the first fake news reporter of his second administration. And I felt like all was right with the world again. Hearing the president of the United States call a reporter a, quote, horrible person. And I have the quote. I'll play it for you here in just a minute. It made me, I thought, this is what this country is. This is what leadership is. This is what this country needs to be. And I'm so glad that we're back. And then this morning, after all that, I would go, that's the greatest thing ever. No, Donald Trump getting into a tit for tat with a woke bishop from the National Cathedral on Truth Social at midnight 30. That's calling her boring and not very good at her job, which, let's be honest, I mean, like, the woman's job is to feed the soul, right? That's what these spiritual leaders are supposed to do. You're supposed to feed the soul. You're supposed to nourish us with the Holy Spirit and the Word of God. You're supposed to say, here's why Jesus died for you, and here's how you can live a Jesus-like lifestyle. And what she does is she gets up there and she lectures the president of the United States, and he goes, that you're boring. You're uninspiring, which I feel sometimes I go to church, not my church. Sometimes I go to other churches, or when I'm traveling, I'll go to a church and I'll listen to a sermon and I'll go, man, this guy missed an opportunity. I'll listen to, they call it a homily in the Catholic Church. And I go, man, that homily, snooze fest. They missed an opportunity. And sometimes, and this is just me, this is the showman in me. But sometimes I'll be listening to the priest give a sermon. I'll be like, I could have done a better job. I'm like, man, maybe I should have been a priest, because if I got up there, I would have these people would be riveted. I would love to go up there. I would give a barn burner of a sermon. If anyone, I'm Catholic, so you can't really do that unless you're a priest. But if anyone wants me to like guest sermon at if you have one of those churches where there's like no rules, where you can have like jugglers. There's some churches out there where they're like in the Godatorium and they have jugglers and fire-breathing dragons and trapeze artists. And I don't know what, like Judas comes in on a trapeze or something like that. I don't know what it is, but if you ever need like a guest sermon giver, look me up, because I could deliver I could deliver a real barn burner of a. I would fill those seats, man. You want to talk about butts and seats? They'd be there. Anyway, so that was Donald Trump. That was Donald Trump's morning calling out the bishop. It was the very boring and uninspiring sermon. She's not very good at her job. She and her church owe the public an apology. And I'm going to be honest with you. Maybe this woman doesn't know about Donald Trump. Maybe she doesn't know about how he handles things and what he does. But he's in charge of a lot of funding. And I imagine the National Cathedral gets a lot of funding. And I imagine maybe they'll get a little bit less. One of the other things that happened, you may remember Donald Trump's very first night in office when he was in the Oval Office and he was signing those orders. And Peter Doocy said, hey, is there a letter from Joe Biden? Is there a letter from Joe Biden there? Would you look? Can you look in the drawer and see if there's a letter from Joe Biden? And Donald Trump said, Peter, I totally forgot. That's right. And he opened up the drawer and he pulled it out. Sure enough, it said 247. And I didn't think Joe Biden wrote it then because it was legible. Actually, you could read the word 247. And I go, there's no way Joe Biden can. That's not his handwriting. That shaky old dude, no way. But they asked about it. And Donald Trump said, yeah, I'll read it. I'll read it later. And then he read it. And yesterday he was asked about it again in the press conference. And apparently he released the transcript of the letter. Donald Trump was asked what the letter said. He released the transcript. Peter Doocy posted on his X feed. This is verified Peter Doocy. I don't know. I don't imagine Peter Doocy would lie about this, but he wrote, we can exclusively report for the first time anywhere the contents of President Biden's letter to President Trump. Dear President Trump, as I take leave of this sacred office, I wish you and your family all the best in the next 4 years. The American people and people around the world look to this house for steadiness in the inevitable storms of history, and my prayer is that in the coming years will be a time of prosperity, peace, and grace for our nation. May God bless you and guide you as he has blessed and guided our beloved country since our founding. Joe Biden, 1/20/25. I don't believe this was written I don't believe a word of this was written by Joe Biden. Or if it was, he dictated it to someone, or someone brought it to him and said, just sign this, we'll shove it in the drawer. I don't believe it one bit. I want to see the actual letter. I want to see the actual letter. I want to see the actual handwritten paper, and then I'll make a judgment call. Once I see the letter, once I see it on paper, then I'll make a judgment call as to whether or not this is accurate, as to whether or not this is indeed Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. I want to compare the signatures to other signatures that we've seen because I don't know, it just sounds way too articulate for somebody like Joe Biden who can't even remember the words to the Declaration of Independence. You know, the thing, kleptocracy. Yeah. Anyway, that's what Peter Doocy reported. There's a bunch more. I do want to get to the press conference, and I do also want to go. Like I said, I wasn't 100% planning on doing this show today, but there's a lot of stuff we have to talk about. But basically, it's going to be me going through, just rolling through my. It's going to be me rolling through my feed here. But one thing I do want to do, and if you're watching on X, here's what I want you to do right now. If you're watching on X, I want you to retweet this broadcast and shout out Cat Turd. At CatTurd2, because he posted this morning, good morning X, will be in the hospital a few more days at least. Like last time, hopefully won't have to have surgery. These are caused by some bad scar tissue I have from when I had my appendix taken out 38 years ago. Apparently, he has, what did he say? It was a blockage. He said he had his bowel was blocked or something. Anyway, so he's just sitting in a hospital bed tweeting up a storm now, and hopefully won't have to have any surgery. So pray for Cat Turd. In fact, retweet this broadcast right now if you're watching on X and write pray for Cat Turd and then at CATTURD2. And let's send him as many great wishes as we can because he's in the hospital now, and that's no fun. That's no fun. Nobody wants to start off the new golden age in the hospital. Nobody wants to start the new golden age with a bowel blockage. That's not, I feel like I've had a bowel blockage for 4 years with Joe Biden. I feel like November 5th, we all got our bowels unblocked. And now we're all, and then January 20th came along and was like, oh, we're finally free of all this crap. And then here's poor Cat Turd, our buddy. He's got a bowel blockage. So we pray for him and we do wish him the best. And we wish him a speedy recovery because I don't know if we had him on the show a couple weeks ago. He's a great guy. And he endorsed me for Congress. One of the, I was like 60% going to run for Congress until Cat Turd endorsed me. And then I was like 90% going to run for Congress because I was like, if I can get Cat Turd's endorsement, I think I could probably I think I could probably win this thing. And he's a great guy. He's got a great podcast. He's a great American. So make sure. By the way, I'd like to point out, Cat Turd, as he himself will tell you, was an old hippie. He's a redneck who lives in the middle of nowhere, Florida, which is covered in snow, by the way, right now. And he just became a Twitter troll. He was on Tucker Carlson. You know, he's hooked up with John Rich for Turd Stock now. He's become an internet celebrity. And look at this. Nancy Mace, Scott Pressler, Juanita Broderick, Kevin Sorbo, Sean Farish. It's like a who's who of conservative celebrities, all wishing him the best. And a whole bunch of cat memes as well, too. There's John Rich standing by, Gunther Eagleman, the Hodge twins, Carrie Lake, get well. We are praying for a full recovery. And my buddy Steve Mudflat McGrew. Everybody's just praying for Cat Turd. It goes on and on and on. So go ahead and retweet this real quick and write praying for Cat Turd so he knows that we're talking about him and we're sending him prayers and we're thinking about him. All right. In the meantime, there's something else that happened just today, literally right before I came up. Speaking of Joe Biden, this happened just before I came on live. And this was an announcement by Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, that there could be a potential investigation into Joe Biden for pardoning all of these people that he pardoned on his way out the door. What are being deemed by a lot of people, these preemptive pardons, as unconstitutional, as illegal. And really, let's be honest, it's basically pointing the finger at all of the people who were guilty. And I have to imagine a lot of these people are like, WTF is this clown doing? Because think about it. You're like, okay, maybe I got away with it. Maybe I got away with it. Donald Trump's coming back. He's got a lot to do. Maybe I'll get away with it. And then Joe Biden goes, just so you know, I'm pardoning all these people. So whatever you do, don't investigate them for wrongdoing because they've just been pardoned. And to me, that's like him saying, these are the criminals. These are the people that you need to really look out for. Do you remember there was a time, Joe Biden went to go meet with Vladimir Putin. And when Joe Biden went to go meet with Vladimir Putin, I couldn't believe it. This is an amazing thing. He was talking about his meeting with Vladimir Putin, and he goes, I have a list of 16 targets in the United States which are off limits. These are the crucial targets that if Russia hit these targets would cause massive devastation and destruction to the United States. And I made a list, and I gave it to Vladimir Putin. And I said, these are off limits. And I thought to myself, you itemized a list of the 16 most highly sensitive targets. What happened here? Why is my ad block popping? You made a list of the 16 most highly sensitive targets in the United States of America, and you handed it to your arch nemesis and said, hey, by the way, don't hit these targets? Are you an idiot? I mean, the answer we know is yes. But I feel like that's what he did with these pardons. I feel like these pardons are him going, hey, look, whatever you do, don't investigate these people for crimes. I just want to let Adam Kinzinger, Liz Cheney, the entire committee, everybody in my family, whatever you do, don't investigate them for crimes because I'm going to go ahead and pardon them. I'm not saying they're guilty, but I'm saying if you found anything on them, I'm going to pardon them now. Anyway, here's Mike Johnson speaking to a reporter who asked about it.
Mr. Speaker, to potentially have any type of congressional action on the part.
He's saying, will there be congressional action? Will there be? The reporter said, "Will there be potential congressional action about these pardons that Joe Biden signed on the way out the door?" Here's what Mike Johnson says.
It was shocking. I mean, it was shocking what President Biden did on the way out, pardoning his family for more than a decade of whatever activity, any nonviolent offenses. It was breathtaking to us. I don't think that's anything like that's ever been anticipated. And by the way, go look at the tape. 4 years ago, when it was just implied that President Trump might do something similar, they were apoplectic. Joe Biden himself, Adam Schiff, Chuck Schumer, roll the tape. They all said that would be crazy and unconscionable, and now they're cheering it along. To us, it is disgusting. To us, it probably proves the point, the suspicion that, they call it the Biden crime family. If they weren't the crime family, why do they need pardons, right? Look, there's a lot of attention that's going to be paid to this, and I think that is appropriate, and we will be looking at it as well.
Okay, so there you go. The House of Representatives, the Speaker of the House says, yeah, there's appropriateness to paying attention to it. We're going to be paying attention to it. We're going to be looking at it. And if you're not the Joe Biden crime family, well, then why are you pardoning everybody out the door? If you're not guilty of all these things, what is the point? By the way, I do like Speaker Mike Johnson a little bit more now because he used the word apoplectic, which I'm a big fan. I use that word a lot too. I overuse it, but apoplectic's a good word. And sometimes Mike Johnson makes me apoplectic, but I do applaud him for using the word apoplectic appropriately and in the right context and in that live press conference. Let's go back real quick because there was another thing with Mike Johnson today that I wanted to share with you. Mike Johnson accompanied he is a speaker. Mike Johnson accompanied J.D. Vance into the Oval Office. Now, keep in mind, J.D. Vance was a senator for 2 years, okay? He was from Ohio. He became a senator. First, he was like a hillbilly. You know the whole thing. He was a hillbilly living in the Appalachians. Then he went to school. Then he became a lawyer, went to Yale. You know about the whole thing where apparently, according to the Democrats, going to Yale was bad. Tim Walz said going to Yale was bad. And Amy Klobuchar was like, whoa, I went to Yale. And now you can see Amy Klobuchar is still a senator and Tim Walz is nothing. But anyway, he went to Yale and then he came back. He wrote a book. They made a movie about it. Then he ran for Senate. He's been a senator for 2 years. And now he's vice president of the United States. Now, I know everybody thinks that once you get to Washington, D.C., everyone's going to the White House, you're going to the Oval Office, you're hobnobbing with the president, you've got him on speed dial. That's not the case. You know, the president has a very small circle. Some presidents have smaller circles than others, but there's a very small circle, and not everybody gets invited to the White House. Not everybody sees the Oval Office. And J.D. Vance has been in, and especially if you're a Republican and there's a Democrat, like Joe Biden was president, he's not going to invite J.D. Vance to the Oval Office. So now that J.D.'s vice president and Donald Trump is president again, Mike Johnson caught this video, which I think is great, of J.D. Vance's first time in the Oval Office with President Donald Trump.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
They're walking down the hall. They're walking by the aides. There's Secret Service. More Secret Service.
Margo? Oh, hey, Margo.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Wow.
And
This is J.D. Vance's first time to step in the Oval Office.
Wow.
It's incredible.
This is incredible.
And there he is. And by the way, Mike Johnson's voice, when you don't see his face, you just hear his voice, he's got a pretty decent, he could do like voiceover work. This is J.D. Vance's first time in the Oval Office. I mean, he has that he's got that good solid voice. But there it is. Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, they're there. He's looking around. And J.D. Vance, people always comment about J.D. Vance's facial expressions. He can't hide his facial expressions very well. If he thinks something's stupid, he'll look around. He'll be like, this is stupid. If he thinks someone's an idiot, he'll look at you like you're an idiot. If he's just fascinated by something, then you can see the fascination in his face. And right now, there is fascination on his face. There's fascination on his face about what's going on right now. Him standing in the Oval Office. This is a dream come true for this guy. He's been campaigning for over a year now with Donald Trump. Well, not over a year, a very long time. Seems like forever. And then there was the trash truck. And then there was the McDonald's. And then there was the getting shot in the head. And then there was the RNC. And then there was all these other things. And the debates. He had to debate Tim Walz. And now all that hard work has paid off. They're inaugurated, and there they are standing in the Oval Office. And it is really, it's got to be an incredible moment. And I definitely feel for J.D. Vance. I think that guy, first of all, born to do what he's doing a fantastic, really great at what he's doing. When I see him on the Sunday talk shows, which I hope they're going to continue to put him out on the Sunday talk shows. I know the vice president doesn't typically do the Sunday talk shows. They have spokespeople for that, but there's no one better at handling the media. There's no one better than handling the press than J.D. Vance. Well, Donald Trump, of course. So I would really love for that to still be part of his role. And then again, look, he's got, like I said, we're going to need a candidate in 4 years. It could be Ron DeSantis. It could be J.D. Vance. History has told us that the incumbent vice president is typically the first choice. So if Donald Trump can groom him over the next 4 years, not in the liberal bad way, but in the Republican good way, to be the leader of the free world, then he's got a great shot. And he's standing in the Oval Office for the first time thinking, wow, I've got a lot of work to do if I'm going to make this my office one day and carry on the MAGA legacy. But it was very exciting. It was a fun little video to watch, which brings us, ladies and gentlemen, to the main event. Donald Trump's first press conference. Donald Trump's first press conference of his new presidency. Donald Trump's first press conference of his new presidency where he had to face off against another fake news reporter. That's right. The fake news is back. They're back, and they are back with a vengeance. And there's always somebody just like this bishop. This bishop thought she was going to make her mark. She thought, I'm going to look at Donald Trump right in the eye and I'm going to tell him, take care of the illegals and the gay and transgenders. And he's going to change his ways, his evil ways. And I'm going to save the world with my words. And that didn't happen. It backfired. And instead, he called her boring and bad at her job. And so now he's back in the press brief. He's now back in the White House, and he's giving an impromptu press conference after this Stargate announcement. And he gets a question from an uppity reporter who's just dying to be the next Jim Acosta, who's just dying for Donald Trump to give him this attention and call him out so that he can get more FaceTime, so that he can get a bigger role on his network, so that he can get more money and eventually his own TV show or do the nightly news or whatever. And again, it backfires immensely because Donald Trump basically tells him to shut up, stop interrupting, and then calls him a horrible person.
Mr. President, you're a president who has long said that you back the blue, but aren't you sending the message that assaulting officers is okay with these pardons?
No, the opposite. In fact, I'm going to be letting 2 officers from Washington Police, D.C. I believe they're from D.C., but I just approved it. They were arrested, put in jail for 5 years because they went after an illegal, and I guess something happened where something went wrong. And they arrested the 2 officers and put them in jail for going after a criminal, a rough criminal, by the way. And I'm actually releasing. No, I am the friend of police, more than any president that's ever been in this office.
More than 400 of the people that you pardoned, though, assaulted officers. So I want to ask you about the Vice President, J.D. Vance. He said, this is a week ago, he said, if you committed violence on January 6th, obviously you should not be pardoned. Why is your Vice President wrong?
Well, only for one reason. They've served years in jail. They should not have served, and they've served years in jail, and murderers don't even go to jail in this country. And we had 1,500. We have 16 under review. As you know, we commuted about 16 of them because it looks like they could have done things that were not acceptable for a full pardon. But these people have served years of jail, and their lives have been ruined. And in many cases, listen to me for a second. Stop interrupting. They served years in jail. And
Here it comes.
If you look at the American public is tired of it. Take a look at the election. Just look at the numbers on the election. We won this election in a landslide because the American public is tired of people like you that are just one-sided, horrible people in terms of crime. You don't talk about all the people that have been killed and what happens to those murderers. Murderers get no time. You take a look at some of these DAs. They go after political opponents, but they don't go after people that shoot people in the street. They're caught. They know where they're living. They know everything. They don't even go up to pick them up anymore. They just let them live there. They know all about it. They have their pictures. They have the tape of the shooting, and they don't even go up and you're talking about this. No, we pardoned people that were treated unbelievably poorly. In the history of our country, there's never been anything take place like this. They're still looking for them.
Yeah, and that was that was the first of what I'm sure will be many back and forth. And Donald Trump picking up right where he left off. Listen to me. Stop interrupting. And the guy, I'm sorry, sir. And then he goes on. He goes, look, the American people. You have to look at the election results. The American people voted for me overwhelmingly in the Electoral College, in the popular vote. Why did they vote for me? Because they're sick and tired of people like you. One-sided, horrible people. That's what he looks right at the guy and goes, we're tired of people like you, one-sided, horrible people. And Donald Trump is laying down the law at the get-go. He's saying, we're not going to take it anymore. You and your media buddies, you're not going to be the barnacles on the backside of my ocean cruiser, which is taking us into the sunrise of a brand new golden age of America. You can be a bottom feeder all you want. You can try to clickbait my words and you can try to build your career off of me if you want, but you're going to fail miserably because the American people are sick and tired of one-sided, horrible people just like you. And that is Donald Trump in all his glory, and that is what we've been waiting for, what we've been wanting, and what we voted for. And he's 100% right. If they continue to do that, he'll just continue to call them out live, just like he did too with the bishop yesterday. Fake news, fake church, fake religion, fake anybody. If you're not with us, you're against us. And Donald Trump is too busy. He's got too many important things to do than to deal with all this BS. Speaking of which, this is exciting too. There's the FCC chairman, the brand new FCC chairman, is reinstating complaints against ABC, CBS, and NBC. Brendan Carr is the new FCC chairman. And on the way out the door, the other woman, her name was Jessica Rosenworcel. Jessica Rosenworcel was I don't know if you can see this, was the FCC chair in Joe Biden's final days. And she dismissed all of these cases. These cases were for like election interference and other various misuses of public broadcast facilities by ABC, NBC, CBS. There was another one by Fox. I don't remember what that was for. But now Brendan Carr's coming back in and he's like, look, she dismissed these and I am missing them. I'm reestablishing. These are going to go ahead. The complaint stemmed from, and you're familiar with all of them. You're familiar with all of them. There was a complaint against ABC because what did ABC do? During the debate, they fact-checked Donald Trump live. David Muir, the worst person in the world. David Muir, who paraded around like he was some news god, some icon of unbiased reporting. David Muir, who was like, look at my hair, listen to my voice, look at my fashion. I don't take sides. Took sides at the debate. He berated Donald Trump. He fact-checked Donald Trump. He argued with Donald Trump. And while Kamala Harris was out there spreading lie after lie after lie, like, oh, there's no active duty military deployed anywhere in the world right now. Didn't stop to point out that is not true. Thank God we had TikTok and all of the active duty military deployed around the world to set her straight. So there was a complaint against that filed by some organization. They filed, let me see if I have it here. Oh yeah, one complaint said ABC News favored Vice President Kamala Harris during the presidential debate. All of these were filed by the Center of American Rights, and they filed a complaint saying that ABC favored Kamala Harris during that live debate with President Donald Trump, and that was election interference. That was some kind of corroborated effort to influence voters' minds. That was some kind of what do you call it? In-kind donation to the campaign that was never declared. Whatever it was, they complained about it to the FCC because ABC, NBC, CBS, they're all federally licensed and regulated broadcast networks. They're not just cable networks, they are broadcast networks. CBS, there was a complaint filed against CBS because of the 60 Minutes interview that was altered and edited in a deceptive way where they took Kamala Harris's answers, her bad answers. I mean, they were all bad answers, but they took the really bad answers and they cut them off and they replaced them with not so bad answers, but still really bad answers. And it was deceptive broadcasting, and they basically busted themselves with their stupid promo that they ran. And then there was a complaint filed with the FCC about them. Then there was one with NBC because you may remember NBC late in the game at the very last minute before the election had Kamala Harris come on and do that skit with the woman that plays her. I forget her name. And they were standing there together. They were doing the fun Kamala skit. It was like a 3.5 minute skit. And that is a violation of the equal time clause for broadcast outlets. If you give time to one candidate for president, you've got to give equal time to the other candidate. And Donald Trump complained, and Donald Trump said they didn't give me extra time on NBC. They didn't give me 3 minutes edited on NBC. And NBC had to give him, it was great for Donald Trump in the end, because in the end, they gave him like a 3-minute commercial spot on, I don't know, Thursday Night Football or Sunday Night Football or one of those footballs. I don't know which one NBC has anymore. But they gave him 3 minutes of uninterrupted time during a major sporting event. And Donald Trump was like, okay, but it doesn't matter because this committee, this group of people are still saying, we're going to file a complaint with the FCC. And now Brendan Carr is like, yeah, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, a source told Newsmax that Carr will put the ABC, NBC, and CBS cases back into pending or active status. The move means the complaints against the 3 networks can be adjudicated on their merits. You know, what do they say? FAFO. I'm not going to tell you what that means, but I'm sure you can Google it. So, I mean, it's shocking to me how quickly Donald Trump is making moves, how quickly Donald Trump is using his power to make everything great again. You want to talk about the illegals that this woman was so concerned about. Tom Homan. Everyone on the news wants to know Tom Homan's secrets. They're like, Tom, what are your secrets? Tom, tell us everything you're doing. And Tom Homan's like, I'm not going to... Hold on, I got to exit picture. Tom Homan's like, I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing. I'm just going to deport these people. But he was back on with Fox News, And he was asked about it, and here's what he said about the deportations and how they're going so far.
What would a person have to do to get a visit from ICE?
For it to be in the country illegally, first of all, I mean, there's nothing in the immigration law that says you got to be convicted of a serious crime to be removed under the INA. So if you're in the country illegally, ICE can visit you. But right now, as we said repeatedly, and the President Trump's been clear, we're concentrating on the worst first, the public safety threats, the national security threats. And just yesterday, in the last 24 hours, ICE arrested over 308 serious criminals. Some of them were murderers. Some of them were rapists. Some of them raped a child. Some were sexual assault of a child. So ICE is doing their job, and they're prioritizing just as the president said they would. So the ICE is performing excellent right now out in the field, and they're going to continue every day.
Okay, 308 have been arrested already. 308 violent criminals who are here in the country illegally have already been arrested on day one. On day one, let's see, there 308. Hold on, I gotta get my calculator out here. So I got the calculator. So 308, okay, on the first day times 365 days in a year times 4 years, that's 500,000. 450,000, but that's 500,000. If we keep this pace, if we can do 308 a day, that's 500,000 violent criminals. Again, not just all illegal immigrants, but violent criminals that are here illegally that we can get out of the country. I would imagine that 500,000 violent criminals, murderers and thugs and rapists and sexual assaulters and people who bring in drugs and everything else, I would imagine that would that's a pretty big dent. And I imagine that's going to help out with to bring down the crime in our country, especially in the border towns and the border communities. I think that's really positive. Incidentally, sorry, I just noticed here that cat turd is trending. Cat turd hospitalized due to bowel blockage is the #1 trend on X right now. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's really hats off again to cat turd for his bowel blockage being the top story on X at the moment. That's really amazing. And this is on a day. Think about this. This is on a day when Donald Trump basically threatened Russia. This is on a day that he threatened Russia and said, you need to stop this war or else. We can do it. He said we can do it the easy way or we can do it the hard way, basically. And cat turd's bowel blockage is bigger news. It's trending. It's really cat turd's come a really long way, and we're all very proud of him. And like I said, we are praying for him. Donald J. Trump on Truth Social. I'm not looking to hurt Russia. Oh, you know what? Let me go back real quick because I have a clip. I have a clip that goes along with this. I'm prepared with clips. In Donald Trump's press conference yesterday, he was asked, by the way, the whole press conference was because he was announcing this Stargate initiative.
It's my honor to welcome 3 of the world's leading technology CEOs. And in the case of Larry Ellison, it's well beyond technology. He's sort of CEO of everything. He's an amazing man, an amazing business person. But to announce the largest AI infrastructure project by far in history, and it's all taking place right here in America. As you know, there's great competition for AI and other things, and they're coming in at the highest level. We're joined by Oracle Executive Chairman Larry Ellison, SoftBank CEO, my friend Masa Yoshi-san, and CEO of OpenAI, and I would say by far the leading expert based on everything I read, Sam Altman. So that's great that you're coming in together. That's a massive group of talent and money. Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States and very, very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately.
Okay, think about that. Think about this announcement. Donald Trump, and he's very subdued. He's very tired probably, but he comes out. He's got Sam Altman. He's got Masa Yoshitsumi, I think his name, and he's got Larry Ellison. And he's like, these guys, by the way, are pledging $500 billion, $500 billion, to AI in infrastructure projects in the United States. Oh, and they're going to create 100,000 new jobs. Very casually. And I'd like to thank them for being here and for bringing $500 billion with them. Masa Yoshitsumi, I think is his name, last week or 2 weeks ago was just at Mar-a-Lago pledging $100 billion. And Donald Trump said, why don't you make it $200 billion? He goes, oh, I'll see. Oh, that's funny. And then he comes back. He goes, I'll make it $5. Make it $500 billion between the three of us. And we're going to create jobs and we're going to dominate AI infrastructure. And that's important because you don't want China. I went into all this very much in depth in the 47 Daily podcast this morning. So definitely download that and listen to it because it's very important to steal money and technology and smart people from China. And this day one investment, this announcement does all three of those. But then Donald Trump took other questions. And one of them was about Russia. Will you put sanctions on Russia?
You called for a ceasefire in Ukraine. If Vladimir Putin doesn't come to the table to negotiate with you, will you put additional sanctions on Russia?
Sounds likely.
And do you think that the war should be frozen currently?
The war should have never started. If you had a competent president, which you didn't, the war wouldn't have happened. The war in Ukraine would have never happened if I were president. But that couldn't happen because the election was rigged.
I love by the way, he started throwing that back in there too. He's like, I'm president now. I'm going to say what I think. I'm going to say what I feel. I'm going to say what I want. And that's what he said about the war in Ukraine. Now, when it comes to Russia, he posted this morning, again, very early. I'm not looking to hurt Russia. I love the Russian people and always had a good relationship with President Putin. And this, despite the radical left's Russia hoax. Got to throw that in there too. We must never forget that Russia helped us win the Second World War, losing almost 60 million lives in the process. All of that being said, I'm going to do Russia, whose economy is failing, and President Putin a very big favor. Settle now and stop this ridiculous war. It's only going to get worse. If we don't make a deal, and soon, I have no other choice but to put high levels of taxes, tariffs, and sanctions on anything being sold by Russia to the United States and various other participating countries. Let's get this war, which never would have started if I were president, over with. We can do it the easy way or the hard way. And the easy way is always better. It's time to make a deal. No more lives should be lost. Now, interestingly enough, this is a message to Russia and also a message to Volodymyr Zelensky. This is a message to Russia saying, hey, you guys got to stop killing people or else your economy is going to fail. We're going to destroy you. We're going to tariff you and your people are going to suffer and they're going to be lost in poverty just like they were during the Cold War. And it's also a message, I believe, to Volodymyr Zelensky saying, look, dude, you're going to have to make some concessions because we're not fighting this war the way Joe Biden fought it. We're not fighting this endless war by giving you munitions and missiles and training and weapons and all that kind of. We're not going to perpetuate this. We're going to end it. We're going to end it the easy way or the hard way. And the easy way is you guys sitting down and saying, here's what's Russia's, here's what's Ukraine's. And the hard way is you guys continuing to fight, us cutting you off, cutting Russia off, and seeing who outlasts each other. And that's not the way anyone wants it to be. So that's Donald Trump. And that was all, by the way, on his Truth Social post. So Donald Trump, just to recap again, in the first 48 hours of his new administration, has signed a bevy of orders, a bevy of executive orders, has pardoned multiple thousands of people. Oh, including, by the way, Ross Ulbright, who was pardoned yesterday. All the libertarians were complaining. I know everyone was like, you said on day one and it was day 1.5. The guy had to spend 12 extra hours in jail. Come on. It's better than 2 life sentences. But he pardoned Ross Ulbright from Silk Road. So all of these things are happening. They're happening quickly. And now on day 2, he's got a $500 billion investment. He's dominating AI and the future of technology. And also, yes, he's negotiating an end to the war with Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky in Ukraine. So I'm telling you, he knows he's got 4 years. He knows it's not 8 years. It's not as much time as most presidents get. He's already done 1 term. And he's only got 2 years with this very slim majority in the House of Representatives. He's only got 2 years with the guarantee that he's going to have a Senate majority, although I think the Senate majority is probably safe in the next go round. But, knock on wood. And he's changing everything. The other thing he did was the one flag policy, which I did a whole TikTok on. So I'm not going to go too much into it. But if you follow me on TikTok, you can go watch it. And some people say, why is Donald Trump doing these little things? Why is Donald Trump? Why do we care about a one flag policy? It's not a little thing. It's a big thing. What Barack Obama and Joe Biden and the rest of these people led you to believe was that the American flag is just a piece of cloth. They led you to believe that the American flag was just a symbol, just a way to identify ourselves, much like the pride flag is a way that some people can identify themselves, and that they can fly equally over the White House. They can fly equally on embassies during the Black Lives Matter protests. In Curacao, for example, the embassies and a couple of other places, a couple of other federal buildings flew and were allowed to fly the Black Lives Matter flag, which is not an official flag of the United States of America. So Donald Trump and Marco Rubio, Senator of State, issued a brand new one flag policy in the United States of America. There is one flag. I don't have it. I packed it. There's one flag. It's the Stars and Stripes. And that is the flag that flies at the White House, none other. That is the flag that flies at federal buildings, none other. That is the flag that flies at embassies around the world, none other. There are two notable exceptions. One is the POW MIA flag to honor the POWs, the prisoners of war, and those missing in action and to bring them home. And the other is the hostage flag, the what do you call it? The illegal hostages or I forget the word, but that's the other one. Same thing, bring them home. And those can fly with the American flag, but nothing else. And anyone who violates that policy is terminated and you're sent home. If you're serving abroad, you're done. You're sent home. And that's something that's going to be and that's something that's important because Americans, again, it's all about bringing this country together. It's all about unifying this country. If you have two flags, you don't have a unified country. You have a separated country. If you have two national anthems, you don't have a unified country. You have a separated country. If you have two genders, I'm just kidding. that's actually the correct number. According now to policy, the Donald Trump's policy, that he had to sign an executive order saying that. So that's what Donald Trump is unifying the United States of America by getting rid of all of the stuff that separated us. And we are all flying under one flag. That's it. If you're an American, you got the Stars and Stripes. And if you're gay, or if you are some kind of, political outspoken social justice warrior, or if you don't know what you are, or if you're black or white or Jewish, it doesn't matter. It's all encompassing. We are all under the American flag. And that's how you unify people, by reminding everybody we're all Americans and we all have the one banner. So let's stop pretending that some of us are this and some of us are that. Some of us are Stars and Stripes. Some of us are Pride Rainbow. That's not how it works in this country. We are all Americans. We are all Americans no matter what. Which reminds me, by the way, about the Gulf of America. That's the other thing. A lot of people say the Gulf of America. Why does Donald Trump waste time?
Now we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
Hold on, let me pull that up. A lot of people say, why does Donald Trump waste time? Why? I don't want him wasting any more time on stuff like the Gulf of America. First of all, that is not a waste of time because for so long, the rest of the world has not seen America being dominant. The rest of the world has not understood that America is the dominant superpower, that the Gulf of Mexico is truly the Gulf of America, that we protect it, that we have the majority of the money and the ships flowing through it. The Panama Canal, which we built and we gave to Panama, is now being run by China. That's bad. Greenland, which Denmark owns and really just basically despises and is useless, has a territorial advantage, a strategic advantage for the United States of America and the world. And as a result, the United States would like to make a deal to acquire Greenland. And all of these things are not little. They all add up to a much greater purpose, a much greater tale to be told. And that is that America is big and bold and great, and we are growing, and we are a worldwide dominant power. And everywhere you turn, you should see American influence. If you're in Europe and you turn up and look at Greenland, you should see American influence. If you're in Mexico and you look up at the Gulf of America, you should see American influence. If you're in Canada, you're basically everything, and everything you have has been influenced by the United States of America. You might as well be the 51st state, and that is why we are celebrating, by the way, with our Gulf of America collection, which you can get, which you should get, which, by the way, tons of people are getting. All FYI, this is going to be You know, when I thank God Donald Trump changed the name to the Gulf of America, because my family and I will be able to eat for at least a couple more months. But we always talk about supporting the show, and I know that we got a couple super chats, and I'm going to read those here in just a minute. So before we wrap up today, before I get thrown out of my hotel and go back to the airport for my late night flight, I will read through all the super chats and Rumble rants. So if you'd like to leave a super chat or a Rumble rant right now, you've got a few minutes to do it. But the Gulf of America shirts have been selling amazingly well. And I think, there's a couple reasons. Number one, it's because Donald Trump has now declared it's now a thing. It's now actually a thing. It is the Gulf of America. It's no longer just a novelty. It's no longer just something funny. It's no longer something we get a kick out of. This is the law of the land. And there was some poor meteorologist on Twitter today. I meant to save it, but I don't think I did. I woke up and I saw her arguing with people, or apologizing, I guess, because she posted something about the snow that was coming into Florida or to Louisiana, and she mentioned the Gulf of Mexico in her report. And man, people laid into her. They were like, "It's the Gulf of America. It's been changed. What's wrong with you, liberal?" And so I stumbled upon her feed, and she was like, "I apologize. It was not a political statement. It's just, it was just my whole life. I was calling the guy." Then she changed course. She said something along the lines of, I didn't want to confuse any of our foreign viewers. And I was like, foreign viewers? What foreign people are watching local news about Louisiana? First of all, fake news doesn't have any domestic viewers, let alone foreign viewers. I mean, I don't know who she's trying to kid. But if you would like a Gulf of America hoodie, Karen T in Rapid City just purchased this very one, a white one with the blue and the red, white, and blue. It's a great one. If you would like Julio T in Huffman, United States, just purchased a t-shirt. If you would like your own, just go to markshop.com. Mark K Shop. There's a link in the description of this video. If you're watching, Velvet F in Liverpool purchased a Gulf of America. You guys are great. Also, do me a solid, and if you've already purchased your Gulf of America gear, and if you've already received your Gulf of America gear, put it on, snap a photo of yourself, send it to me, or post it on Instagram, or tag me, or get it to me somehow, because I would love to use some of your photos, put them up on the website, show everybody how great they look. We've got the women's V-neck too, because I know a lot of women like to show off their neck. And so whatever you get, whatever stuff you're picking up, just let me know about it. Take a picture, show it to me so that we can see, so that we can show everybody how great you guys look in your Gulf of America, stuff. It's markshop.com is where you can go, markshop.com. All right. I promised I'd roll through the super chat. So if you'd like to send a super chat, if you have a comment, if you have a question, I'll be like Donald Trump here. I'll do Q&A, whatever you want answered, because I have a couple of minutes here before too long. Christiane Haggerty. Hi, Christiane. Good to see you. Oh, she sent $10 and she said, "Free Mark from DC Fund." Yeah, they're keeping me here. I don't know why. I don't know. They're trying to keep me here. I wanted to leave, and they were like, "Nope, sorry, you got to stay at least 12 more hours." But hopefully, like I said, I'll be back and ready to go tomorrow. I'll be back home at K-Trade HQ in Mar-a-Lago. But I will say this: it is just as cold in Florida. There's no snow. They're not where I got. The snow is on the West Coast, not on the East Coast. My kids were very upset. They got a snow day, but they didn't actually get the snow, which they're upset about. Sometimes they get hurricane days and the hurricane never shows up, and I'm happy about that. But apparently when there's a snow day and there's no snow, that's a whole different issue. But yeah, it's as cold here as it is there. But I will be thrilled to get back to Mar-a-Lago after a few days away. This is from, Angel Gangwer. Gangwer. Hey, Angel. $20. You are the best, Mark K. Angel, I mean, I'm not going to debate that with you. I'm not going to argue. I'm just going to say thank you so much. I appreciate that. You too, I believe, are the best. So that I definitely appreciate that. And like I said, we are, people don't realize we're independent, and it's a multifaceted job. I always joke about how I work so much harder now that I work for myself, because everything rolls through me, and I'm not complaining. I like it because I didn't trust any of those other bastards I used to work with. But I like it. All of the sales, all of the sales inquiries and the advertising inquiries. Guess who they roll through? This guy right here. All of the editing and the video and the visuals, guess who it rolls through? This guy right here. Every time there's travel to be made or appointments or events we can cover, guess who makes those? It's all me. The merchandise, the books, the everything. It's all, but so it's a lot more work. Plus, we do this a lot. For example, we do the morning show. We do the 47 Daily, which is a morning video that we post. We do the podcast, and I appreciate everybody who is subscribed to that and listens to it on the daily. That helps out a lot as well. And then we do multiple videos. Yesterday, we did 2 lives because we went live for the press conference. And then tomorrow, if there's breaking news, whatever, we try to get some stuff out there as well, plus Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all that other stuff. So, Angel, I do definitely appreciate it. We are looking to build up Kaye Media. We are looking to make it so that I don't have to do it myself, because here's the thing. The more people that I can bring in, the more people I can hire, the more people we can add to the team, the more content and the better content and the more reliable we can make all this stuff. So if you like what people pay for Netflix every month. If you're like, Netflix sucks, I'd rather watch Mark Kaye. Great. Then throw me the $20. Oh no, they just raised it. I think it's 25 now. I got to go check. I got to go cancel my Netflix after this. So if you'd like to send a super chat, like I said, we always do appreciate it. And I'll be more cognizant. I will take more time out of each broadcast to thank those people who are supporting the show and have legitimate questions and comments. And again, like I said, if there's ever anything you want to know, if you have a burning question and I don't get to it otherwise, leave it in a super chat and I'll pay close attention, or a Rumble rant on Rumble. We are working. I did have a conversation with Rumble the other day. We check in with each other periodically just to say hi. I say, what's up, Rumble? They're like, what's up, Mark Kaye? And I did talk to them a little bit, and, working on a system where we can incorporate the Rumble rants as well into our broadcast the way we do with our super chat. So it's very exciting. Big things to come, folks. Big things to come. But listen, they're going to kick me out of here in 30 minutes, and I got to pack up the studio again. So thank you. I appreciate everything. Don't forget, if you would like your Gulf of America gear, now's the best time to go get it. I would say, like, right now, is because like I said, I'm going to go to the airport. If you would like, what is that? If you would like let me go back here. If you would like your Gulf of America gear, go to markkshop.com, and please do not forget coupon code TrumpWorld. I made it just for you. It's right there on the top, and it's 15% off your entire purchase. So if you load up your cart with t-shirts and mugs and sweatshirts and Gulfy, the Gulf of America mascot for the kids, if you load it all up and you use coupon code TrumpWorld, guess what? You will get 15% off of your entire order, not just one item. It's the cumulative order. So now's a good time to start thinking about like birthdays that may be popping up, anniversaries, any other, if you have like a family, if you're planning a trip out to, Destin, if you're planning a trip out to Tampa, if you're going to the Houston area, wouldn't it be great to show up at the Gulf of America wearing your official Gulf of America gear? I think it would. So if your summer plans take you to the west coast of Florida or the east coast of Texas or the southern coast of Louisiana, Mississippi, or Alabama, then by all means, make sure you're well dressed and you're appropriately dressed in a fashion Gulf of America tee. Go to markkshop.com, use coupon code TrumpWorld. And listen, like I said, pray for me that I'm back tomorrow at Mar-a-Lago, because there's going to be more news. Donald Trump is your president. Donald Trump is working almost 24 hours a day at being your president, at making America great again, at solidifying everything that we need to guarantee that this is truly the new golden age and that it lasts longer than all of us, to restore this country to greatness and make us great again and rich again and strong again and safe again. And we are going to be here every single day. I'm going to be here doing my part. I appreciate you coming and doing your part, and make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you set the notifications. Make sure you listen every single day for the inspiration, the entertainment, the enlightenment, everything you need so that you'll be well equipped and well armed to save the Republic. That was good. I got to get that was good. That was a fun one. Listen, now I got to put all these lights back and wrap everything else back up. But go get your shirts, go get your sweatshirt. Don't forget to send me pics. I want to see your pics. I want to see you in the Gulf of. I know you guys are buying the stuff, so send me some great photos and we'll put them up on Instagram or we'll put them up on the website or something like that. All right, I will see you tomorrow